Welcome back to session 4 of our series on what we believe in. And this time we come to perhaps the most crucial day in history. Not perhaps, it is. It is the day in history on which everything else depends. Literally, if you take every event in history, going back to the murder of Julius Caesar or going back further to the pyramids and the events then, if you go since then and go to the events over the last 2 millennia, and particularly the ones in the last century, those of the Second World War, they are days when the world changed. The cross is the day when the whole world changed. The whole world has to decide what that means. So when you think about the other days that we talk about, the days such as, I don't know, D-Day or Dunkirk, or the other days, for example, in the Second World War, which are the ones which are higher in our consciousness, they are days when war changed, when the process of things changed, when the pathway changed and set the tone of what has happened since. This day we're referring to, Jesus crucified, is a day when the whole world changed, because the whole world had an opportunity to do something that virtually every person on earth has wanted to do, which is to connect with something bigger, something we call transcendent, something that goes beyond what we are, that connects us with God. So why is that? And that's what we're going to be looking at in this session. One of the first things to say, of course, is that the story of the crucifixion is not one that is isolated to that moment. It's not even isolated to the 3 years that live up towards it, the life that lived towards it, Jesus' teaching, Jesus' ministry, what Jesus said, which meant that people wanted to have him killed. It's not just about that. It's about the whole of history before that. It begins with the beginning of the Bible. It begins with that moment when, whether symbolically or literally, Adam and Eve ate an apple and the world fell. The world became estranged from this creator that it has longed to get back towards. And because of that, this day is that day when that is finally made possible. Go back the thousands of years, whatever, and to this thing that is built into each one of us. It can sometimes be called original sin. It can be called the will within each one of us to go our own way. That when we have a choice, we choose automatically. We choose instinctively. We choose based on the criteria available to us. No, it's more than that. Because that's how many, I think, animals are, that the instinct which is the strongest is the one that applies and the ones that they act accordingly. You and I have been given something beyond that. We call it the capacity to know right from wrong. That's symbolically or otherwise what is happening in the Garden of Eden. Their eyes were opened. They knew symbolically what was right and what was wrong. Not symbolically, literally, they knew what was right and what was wrong. And that is the thing that each one of us knows, and each one of us knows there is this problem. So when we come to the cross, we have to ask ourselves, how does that deal with it? There is the historical reality we shall come to in a moment. That simple sense which says that if you look on any chat room or any kind of response on the internet, you'll get those people who are, Jesus, he was a bloke in fiction. No, there is so much evidence for the reality of Jesus Christ and the reality that he was crucified. That is something which is real and is out there. The second thing is the significance of Jesus' death. The significance of Jesus' death is that it becomes something unique in all of history. It's unique in several ways. One, it was predicted. It was something that had been prophesied. Secondly, it was something that involved a man who, according to every person who looked into it, said this man was innocent of everything. He never did anything to deserve this. And thirdly, it is a significant thing because of what that has just been said, that this innocent man creates the possibility of sin being dealt with. That's what we're going to look at in this session together. But before we begin, it is that question of, when we look at these things, what do we look at? Do we look at them as scientifically? Do we say, well, can a man be brought back from the dead? Well, that's the reality, is we're talking about the supernatural. We're talking about something which only God can do. Are we looking at it from a symbolic thing? That symbolically, well, he lived on in the lives of his disciples. That's what many people say. No, because there is a literal historical claim that has to be addressed, which says that he rose from the dead. And thirdly, there is this theology. What did it mean in reality in our relationship with God? And fourthly, how does that affect the way that you and I live? So this is a session which is not one that is easy, because it involves blood and gore and death. It involves suffering, it involves hatred, it involves the absolute worst. It involves you and me addressing the fact that we have a part to play in this. And it asks the question, well, what does it mean? What does it mean for the whole world? What does it mean for you and for me?